Right, I'm starting again because I didn't realise, but I'd left it zoomed in like this. This beat is called Toilet Break, and I wanted to break it down. One, just to kind of explain to you why it was called Toilet Break, and it was simply because I needed the toilet, but I just couldn't be arsed breaking the flow. But the main reason why I wanted to do a breakdown on this is actually because there's not a lot to it. I mean, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But it's like, sonically, I think it's so fat. So it sounds simple, but it was actually fairly complex. So I started off, I came across these kicks. And I was like, yeah, I want to use them. So I tuned them to the root notes. Didn't really have an idea of where the melody was going to go. I actually wanted to do something more minor. So I started with that, put the hi-hats in. I kind of took inspiration from my audio engineering, and so I'll take the same hi-hat but play different patterns, so when they land on the same beat they phase like this. So it kind of sounds like it's going up in pitch on certain ones. Then I put the melody on it. But then what I decided halfway through, I was like, obviously because I put them 808s on it, I knew it was going to be difficult to try and fit a bass line in there as well, and I ended up doing it. I think it works. There's a lot going on in the bottom end, feel the low frequency. I feel like I made it work. So I decided, because I had the 808 kick drums on it, I was like, I'm going to struggle to get a bass line in there as well. So I was like, I'm going to go with a flat kick and a bass line instead of the 808 kicks. So I did that. Yeah, there you go. Right, so it's nice. But then I just dropped the 808s back in, and because they were on a different pattern, it just probably can't hear it too well on this, but they had like a nice little, just bounced off each other. But the main thing I wanted to go over, if I'm to be totally honest, was the melody, because B major, I put the Velocity processor on it, which if you're not familiar with, it's essentially just a compressor for MIDI, which I use a lot, you know, because I play everything in. And sometimes that's good, it depends on the style of beat or the feel of it, you know, obviously you want to keep that dynamics in. But this one I had it in mind, like how I wanted it to be, and it actually kind of came out, which was a kind of thin, almost old-fashioned sounding, but I wanted it to sound sampled, so I knew I had to put the Velocity processor on it. And I did squash it quite a lot, actually, to be fair. If you can see here, if I can just maybe zoom in a little bit, this little orange line here, I'm doing this in mirror view there, is low, so that's the threshold basically. So it squashes quite a lot of the dynamics out of it. It is piano, one of the Arturia pianos, American marimba. They're not the greatest, I'm not going to lie, the pianos on Arturia. I would definitely go for Native Instruments. But I'm going to quickly just take all the plugins off. That's the original. That is like shizer. So anyway, first thing to do was EQ. There you go, straight away. Rolled a shed load of bottom end off, just dragged the bottom end straight past the low mids and all that, and then boosted like around 5k. I've got a bit of a thing for 5k at the minute. Then put a reverb on it, boom. Compressed it, but then of course I knew when I was going to compress it, it's going to probably add a bit more of that bottom end back in. So I EQ'd it again. The next thing was I wanted the reverb, so I had that kind of big sound, but I didn't want the tail, so I just put a gate on it. But also I knew the gate would give it that sampled. I played it, and then I was tweaking it, imagining as if someone's hitting it on the pads, and I knew the gate would give it that sound. So only little breaks in between, and then I put a final EQ on it there, just a little bit of a boost, sort of high mids to, what's that, 3-4k or something like that. But I got the sound I wanted, and when you listen to the difference between, you know, without any plugins, you know, the original piano was actually borderline disgusting. Like, what is that? What is that? Do you know what I mean? Come on, Arturia, sort your pianos out. And then that. And that was it really, but that was the main thing I wanted to break down on this beat was that, but mainly because it was intentional. Like a lot of the time, like I say, I'm just sort of freestyling it, you know, as you do. That's where the best stuff comes from. But with this, it's fairly intentional. So that is pretty much it. Everything kind of came together. I've renamed it Take a Break, because Toilet Break is a bit like, yo, do you want to hear this sick beat I've made? It's called Toilet Break. Like, and the intro wasn't this long, my bad. Messed up my cue. Anyway, this is Take a Break.